So this week we're going to take our models, do some texture painting onto the high poly, and then bake the texture in the normal and the AO onto the low poly. I, through a hard drive error, lost my lost my model that I was working on, the Thomas model. So I grabbed a bust from Blender Swap, just to be able to show you guys kind of what we're working on here. Okay. I'll show you my low poly. This is the low poly face that I have. Let me jump back over to. Uh, let's jump back over to object mode really quick. Just go to solid. So I spent some time building my retopo, my low poly. This is what we're going to bake onto. I didn't do the whole bust. I didn't really have time, so we're going to look at that. We call it low poly head LP. And then I've got my head that I'm actually painting on right now. And I'll show you how I set that up. Let's go ahead and just disassociate and delete this material and get it all set up. So you're gonna have you'll have your model here, and you can do a couple of different things. You can see that I've got one already set up here. I've already UV unwrapped it, but I didn't actually. So you can see I actually have not put any seams. You can seam it if you want to. You can put some seams in there if you'd like. You don't have to. For the most part, our models are not complex enough for that, and the Smart UV Unwrap should be fine. So just select everything in edit mode, hit U for Smart UV project, give it, I like to give the islands just a tiny bit of margin, hit OK, and it'll do its thing, and I think should UV unwrap over here. You should get a nice kind of UV unwrap that you can go in and look at. You can see it kind of decided where it wanted to chop pieces into. And this is really fine because we're going to be texture painting onto the model, so it's not so important that we have these big giant fields like we would normally if we were opening this in Photoshop. So we're going to save it. First, we're going to save it just as a UV layout. So just do face UV. Size is not a big issue. Just save it as black. Then I like to save this image. I'm just going to save over what I've got here. So I like to save that image. Then you're going to unlink that one, hit new again, and then just call this face color. And then here's where you need to pick a base color to start with. And this is going to be sort of the base color of our model. You want to go dark. You want it to be darker than what you would normally go with. This is going to be, we're going to work from dark to light with the painting, so we're going to start adding highlights. So I want this color to be fairly dark. That's all right. We'll go like right there. So that's going to be like our shadow color. I'll hit OK, save it as an image. The saving as an image is really important because we're going to come in and apply it as a texture onto the model now. So you can see it's not actually on here. We don't have a material. Make sure you're in Blender Render. Hit New. Drop your spec all the way down. You can change this to be, face materials. It's a good idea to name your stuff. Once you've got that new material, you won't really have to mess with it anymore. We're going to add a new texture. We're going to add a image or movie. We're going to open and navigate to wherever you saved your face color here. Drop it to UV. Make sure it says color. You can name that texture. And then if you go into textured rendering mode, you should see that texture now applied to it. Once that's done, you can go into texture paint mode, and you should see your UV map pop up over here. Hit T to open up your toolbar, and then you can grab colors. To get you started, I suggest clicking on the color, grabbing your eyedropper, and selecting that color, and then you can adjust from there. I like to then paint midtones. I like to kind of do big, broad strokes, especially I've got like this head area to fill, and you're just kind of, for this one, we're doing subtle colors. You don't want to do anything too drastic right away, unless that's kind of what you're looking for. I like to just try to hit highlights. I'm not too worried about making sure the shadows look good. I just want to get some color on here. You'll notice that my strength is really low and my radius is pretty medium, but I'm zooming in and out to sort of change the area that the brush is affecting. It's lagging a little bit. So I have to make big changes across the whole thing. Alright, so once I feel like I've got enough of that midtone in here, kind of think about like where the bone structure is. Just painting. You don't need to get too much under your chin, you just want to make sure that these sort of areas are really even. If your grid and those lines are getting annoying, you can shut them off under display. Just turn off grid floor and turn off your lines, and then you should be good to go here. So let me turn on my keys to see what I'm doing. So I'm really just kind of painting in here. There's going to be some natural shadowing based off of the lighting. That's good to work with. Skin tends to be kind of blotchy anyway, so like that. Maybe up it just a bit. Skin also tends to have red and blue in it. It really depends. If you're going light, skin painting is a whole tricky thing. I would recommend not trying to get anything too realistic. It's gonna take practice. You might not get it your first try. I am gonna just show you a couple of things. I'm just hitting highlight areas now with this lighter color, so the muscle groups in the back, tips of the shadow, or tips of the shoulders, I mean. Front of the head. And then you do the collarbones really quick, which is kind of hard to see exactly where. Oops. We'll say. If at any time you're doing this, you can always come over here to the image. You'll see there's a little star there because we're making changes. Just save it. That way, the changes you're painting on are getting saved, and you don't run the risk of losing a lot of your changes. The brows, the nose. Lips. Take a look here. This stuff. Remember, Shift F will do your strength, and F does your radius. Lower strength is always better because it's more subtle, unless you really need it to not be subtle. These cheekbones here, with the chin, the part that sticks out. So, alright, it should look looking a little blotchy, that's fine. Something else you can do is drop a texture in here. You'll see that it's asking, okay, is there a texture that you've already made that you want to use? I'm just going to hit new. We're going to go with this stubble, but don't really want it to be the white, so we're going to go with multiply, which I think, yeah, multiply should just do the black. Looks like it is. Let's up the radius a little bit. And kind of giving a little bit of darkening around the face. We'll come back in and do some highlights here in a second. Be a good way to paint that. If I was going to be really precise with this, I would come in and sort of repaint over that area right there. I'm not a big fan of how it looks. Okay, don't get too crazy with it. You can come in and do the hair. Sort of just stubble for now. Might be growing some hair. We'll come back and paint some skin color back in here. Let's get a little blotchy. Okay, let's then get rid of that there. You got your color back. And oops. Don't forget to change your brush back to mix. Come back in here. These hard lines out and kind of get those hard lines out. Sort of try to define that shape that we want. Come back in with the highlights. Very super blotchy in here. Skin is hard to do. Kind of hitting it behind it too, so you just gotta be a little careful. Just putting highlights on here. Let's come back in, do some highlights on the nose. I want to paint some, give just a little bit of color. Lips there. You always kind of want to work, from general down to specific. Move that really quick. Yeah, it's the world's worst. Lips and mustache, but it's fine. You get the idea. I mean, it's going to vary based on your own character, what it should look like, what you're doing. Yeah. Anyway, so roughly something like that. This is me doing this for about 10 minutes. Okay, so once you have your painting done, I guess we don't have any other ones. There are different brushes you can make and get. Blend Swap has some eyebrow brushes. I guess I was wrong. There aren't any that I can find. You can make them in, grab a hairbrush or something from Photoshop. You could put together like a PNG black on transparent, and then just do the multiply like we've been doing, and then that just only puts the black and only paints the black stuff, and that would be a good way to paint some eyebrows on. For now, I'm just going to leave them without eyebrows. It's a little weird, but that is one way to do it. I wouldn't worry or stress too much about it. Okay, so once we have that done, save your image. So you've got your color map. The next thing we're going to do is burn these, or bake these onto the low poly models. So we're going to make sure our ambient occlusion is turned on. Drop it down kind of a little bit. Let's go back into object mode so you can sort of see what your face looks like there. We're going to unhide our low poly. Let's grab our low poly. Let's hide our high poly for now. And go back into solid mode. Then we are going to unwrap our low poly. Now you need to have your low poly also unwrapped. You need to have a UV of it. I save my UV just in case. Low poly UV. Just save it to the same place. Save it as an image. All right, so once you have that done, then we can start baking, because we're going to be baking onto that map, so it's a good idea to keep it right there. All right, unhide everything. We're going to bake from the high poly to the low poly, so the low poly needs to be the last thing selected. Come to your bake settings, so we can drop all this stuff, and go to bake. We're going to bake selected to active. All right, so the high poly needs to be the first thing selected, and low poly needs to be the last thing selected. We are not doing full render. We're going to do normals first. Make sure it says tangent. Up your distance to whatever, it doesn't really matter, because the models are right on top of each other. That just looks, it says, okay, consider everything from, 0 distance away from the high poly model to, whatever value you set this at. Once you got these done, you got your UV map on, your low poly unwrapped, hit bake. It'll do its thing. You should see a nice piece show up there. Okay, good. Yeah, I'm looking for the ears here. The ears are kind of the really important part. All right. Hit save. Save the image as, and here's where you need to change the name. So save as low poly normal. All right. Change your bake to texture. Bake. Save this as color. Save the image. And then ambient occlusion. And then hit bake. Good. Pop it there. Okay. Save that image as AO. Okay. Once that's done, don't need to worry about what's over here anymore. You can hide your high poly. Select your low poly and give them a material. I like to drop the spec down. Doesn't really matter. Come over and give a texture. This first texture needs to be, this is the topmost texture in terms of layering. So this should be your color. So we'll call it color. It's going to be image or movie. We're going to open our low poly color. You can always turn it over here and see kind of how that looks. Low poly color. Tell it to map according to the UV. Let's change to our texture mode. Okay, why did it save that? I set the wrong one. Looks fine. Oh, it's okay. Oh, weird. Well, let's just keep adding them and see if it fixes it. Sometimes that preview window is not the most accurate thing. So this will be on normals. Open. So normals and AO need to have special settings. So there's our normals. Map according to the UV. And then uncheck color and check normal. And that will give us, and you can already see the ear, right? We don't have that kind of geometry for the ear. That's just an image. But you can see it kind of giving us that geometry. That's good. Faking the geometry at least. And the subtlety of the way that looks. All right, normals are done. Let's drop our AO in here. Whites. Still showing, sorry. Normals. Could be because we. Not normals, sorry. UV. And then uncheck color and check shading. Change that ambient to whatever you want it to be. Call this one AO. Let's go back up to our color really quick. It's weird that one's doing it. Let's pop a camera in here and see if the camera also renders it that way. I'll bring my grid floors back. station. Nope, not any lights in here. And you gotta hide your eyeball. Alright, let's put the light in here. Okay, so it did map. It mapped right. I don't know why it's not really showing up for us. Eyes are a little funky. Put material in here. Change his iris and have this be the base color. Okay. There we go. So yeah, so that works out pretty well. We still see, of course, the geometry of the model, but we've got our AO map and everything kind of looks all right. Let's pop our render here. It looks okay. It doesn't look too terrible. So yeah, so that's how you do it. You just bake your maps, and then in the model, set up a material for it, and then you will get all your materials aligned appropriately, your normals, your AO, and your color, and it should all look pretty good. Not too bad. So let me know if you have any questions about this. You'll need to do it for, well, so you'll want to bake for the hands and the face, because you're working from a high poly sculpt to a low poly retopo, low poly mesh. But then the rest of the model is very low poly, so you can just texture paint it. You'll still need to UV unwrap it and set up a base color and all that. So that process is the same, but you just won't need to bake. You won't need to worry about AO or normals because there is no normal information to work with. So, all right, let me know if you have any questions. Good luck.